Imagine a giant old castle with tall stone walls, sparkly golden gates, and beautiful green gardens that go on for miles and miles. Inside this castle live kings, queens, and princes. It sounds just like a fairy tale that you might read in a book before you go to sleep. But sometimes, even in a real-life palace, things are not always happy and perfect. Right now, there is a big secret fight happening behind those heavy velvet curtains. It is a fight between Prince William, who will be king one day, and Queen Camilla, his stepmother. They are having a very big disagreement about how to take care of King Charles and how the royal family should act in front of the whole world. This is not just a small argument about what to have for dinner. It is a very serious battle about the future of the entire British monarchy. One person wants to protect the king and make sure he gets enough rest, while the other person wants to keep up with all the old traditions and busy schedules. This fight is getting more intense every single day, and it could change everything about who is in charge and what happens next in the royal world. We are going to look deep into this story to see what is really going on when the cameras are turned off and the palace doors are locked tight. New stories are starting to come out from the big house where the royal family lives, and they are quite shocking to hear. This time, the news is not about someone being sick or someone moving away to a different country. Instead, the news is about a very big and growing fight between Prince William and Queen Camilla. People who work inside the palace and know the family very well say that the tension between them is getting very high. It is like a balloon that is being filled with too much air and might pop at any moment. Prince William is starting to be very firm and strong about what he thinks is right. There are even claims that when William becomes the main leader, he might make some big changes that could affect Queen Camilla's job and where her family stands in the royal circle. He is not being shy about his feelings anymore. So we have to ask ourselves, what really happened to make them so upset with each other? And what does this mean for Camilla's future in the palace? We are going to find out the truth behind this royal tension and talk about the big party that many people say started the whole feud in the first place. To understand why Prince William got so upset and lost his cool, we have to look back at what happened on the night of March 18th in the year 2026. That was a very special night because it was the first time in almost 40 years that a leader from the country of Nigeria came for a big state visit to the United Kingdom. It was supposed to be a very grand and fancy party that showed everyone how strong the British monarchy still is. A man named Balinibu arrived at Windsor Castle for a very formal dinner called a state banquet. There were cameras from every corner of the world there to take pictures of every handshake and every move they made. It was meant to be a perfect night of tradition and smiles. But while everyone was watching the fancy clothes and the pretty decorations, something happened behind the scenes that changed everything. This is a very important part of the story that you really will not want to miss, because it shows how the trouble truly began. Behind the palace walls, things were not nearly as calm as they looked on the television. People who were there say that Prince William was very, very worried. He was concerned about his father, King Charles, and the very busy schedule that had been planned for him. King Charles was 77 years old, and he had been looking very tired and worn out for a few weeks before the big visit started. Because he was not feeling his best, having a packed two-day program with lots of meetings and parties seemed like way too much work. Prince William was not just a little worried. He was actually very angry about it. He truly believed that the schedule was putting too much pressure on his father. He felt that his father should be resting and taking it easy instead of working so hard. The big fancy dinner, the state banquet, was the thing that William was most upset about. He thought it was a big risk that did not need to be taken if the people in charge had made better choices. Even though William was very worried, Queen Camilla saw things in a different way. She believed that it was very important for the king to be at the banquet. She thought that since the whole world was watching the royal family, they needed to look strong and united. In her mind, showing that they were doing their duty was more important than staying home because they were tired. So King Charles and Queen Camilla went to the big party, but this did not make Prince William feel any better. In fact, seeing his father there made him even more upset. Many people who were at the dinner noticed that King Charles looked very, very tired. He did not look like he was feeling well at all during the banquet with the guests from Nigeria. People started talking about how the king looked, and this made William even more sure that his father had been pushed to work way too hard. For William, this was not just a guess anymore. It was something he could see with his own eyes, and it made him very scared for his father's health. What made the situation even more serious was who Prince William blamed for the king being so tired. He did not get mad at the palace workers or the people who planned the events. Instead, The stories say that he held Queen Camilla responsible for everything. He believed that she was the one who insisted on keeping the busy schedule, even though it was clear that the king needed to take a nap and rest his body. People who are close to the family say that William felt very sad and frustrated because he felt like he could not do anything to help. He tried to tell everyone to slow things down and give his father a break, but he felt like nobody was listening to him. This left him feeling very upset, as if he could not properly protect his dad. At this point, the argument became about much more than just a busy calendar. It became a personal fight. William's wish to take care of his father crashed right into Camilla's wish to do her duty and meet people's expectations. What started as a private worry began to grow into a much bigger and more serious problem. The bad feelings between William and Camilla got worse and worse. They were no longer just quietly worried. They were now having open disagreements where they did not agree at all. It was no longer just about making plans for a party. It became a question of who was making good choices and who was responsible for the king's well-being. But the trouble did not stop there. Palace insiders say that Prince William now feels like he is in a never-ending struggle with his stepmother, Queen Camilla. They have very different ideas about what is best for King Charles. William has been telling his father to slow down and focus on getting healthy. He thinks Charles should do fewer royal jobs and spend more time relaxing, especially since he has been dealing with some health problems. But every time William brings this up, it seems like he and Camilla start to argue again. Queen Camilla, on the other hand, thinks that King Charles should keep working and stay very active in his role as the king. This difference in what they think is right has become a constant source of fighting between them. At the heart of the problem is a big clash in their thinking. Camilla believed that staying visible and doing royal work is very important for the monarchy and for Charles himself. She probably feels that having work to do gives the king a reason to feel strong and useful. From her point of view, keeping him busy might actually help him feel better. But William sees it in a completely different way. In the past, he tried really hard to be nice and have a good relationship with Camilla, but that seems to have changed now. His only focus now is protecting his father's health, even if it means he has to disagree with Camilla in front of everyone. One of the king's close friends said that working has always been a way for the king to feel stable and in control, especially when things are hard. Camilla might believe this too and think that encouraging him to work is the kindest thing she can do. In her eyes, she is being a supportive wife, not someone who is being mean. But William does not think that way at all. To him, the king's health is very serious, and resting should always come before doing royal duties. An assistant at the palace said that William now feels like he is standing right against Camilla. He sees her as someone who is blocking what he thinks is necessary, which is making the king's workload much smaller to save his health. This whole situation is even more sensitive because King Charles is dealing with a cancer diagnosis. How much he works is not just a simple choice anymore. It could have real consequences for how he feels and his future. For William, the stakes are very, very high. His worries are also very personal because he lost his mother, Princess Diana, when he was just a young boy. He carries that sad experience with him every day. It has changed how he thinks about family, health, and what it means to be responsible for someone you love. There is a real fear deep inside him that history might repeat itself and that the hard demands of being a royal might hurt someone he loves once again. Because of this, William does not see this as just a small disagreement. To him, it is much more serious than that. Camilla is not just someone with a different idea. He now sees her as someone who is standing in the way of what is right for his father. For a man who will be the king one day, this is a very difficult and emotional place to be. It is a place where his personal feelings and his royal duties are bumping into each other. As the tension keeps growing, what started as a small concern has clearly turned into a deep and personal conflict. And that is only one part of the tension inside the palace. You should keep watching because what happens next is even more surprising than the fight over the king's schedule. In February of 2026, a new report came out that added a dramatic layer to the family's troubles. People who know the secrets of the palace say that Prince William gave Queen Camilla a very strong and direct choice. His message was very clear. He told her she must stop being friends with Sarah Ferguson or they would have a very serious problem. This was not just a small or casual suggestion. It was a very strong stance that showed how much William cares about the way the royal family looks to the rest of the world. A source said that William believes that in today's world, even being slightly connected to a scandal can hurt the monarchy. For him, keeping the royal family's reputation clean is more important than personal friendships, even if those friends have been around for a long time. The timing of this big demand is very important. It is happening while there are still lots of problems connected to Prince Andrew. Even though Prince Andrew does not do royal work anymore, the bad stories from his past are still making the royal family look bad. Recently, some papers from the United States government mentioned the name of Sarah Ferguson. These files are putting a lot of pressure on Sarah because she used to be close to a man who did very bad things. While some people say she did nothing wrong herself, the situation still made everyone very nervous. For William, this was exactly the kind of risk he wanted to avoid. From his point of view, the royal family is in a very delicate spot. People do not have to trust them, and if the family looks like they are hanging out with controversial people, that trust can go away. So his demand is not just about being mean, it is about trying to protect the future of the monarchy. But Queen Camilla did not agree with William's demand at all. In fact, the stories say that she refused to do what he asked. Camilla's friendship with Sarah Ferguson goes back many, many years, long before she even became the queen. Their friendship has lasted through lots of mean stories in the news and hard times in the royal family. For Camilla, being loyal to your friends is very important, and she thinks that cutting someone off just to look good is not a nice thing to do. This difference in how they think shows a big divide between William and Camilla. William is focused on having control, making sure everything is structured, and protecting the future of the crown. Camilla, on the other hand, thinks that personal bonds and being a loyal friend matter more. Neither of them is completely wrong, but they are definitely not on the same page. Meanwhile, King Charles has already been doing things to handle the situation with Prince Andrew. He took away Andrew's official royal roles and made choices to keep the family away from more trouble. These actions showed that the king knows there are risks and is willing to do something about it. However, William seems to think that those steps are not nearly enough. His big demand suggests that he wants a much cleaner and more final break, not just from Andrew, but from anyone who is even close to that whole mess. It shows that William wants a more firm and modern way of doing things where everything is tightly controlled. This is where people start to ask questions. Some people think William might be going too far because he is not the king yet. King Charles is still the one in charge. By making such big demands, William might look like he is trying to act like the boss before it is his turn. At the same time, other people see it differently. They think William is just getting ready for the big job he will have one day. In a world where what people think of you can change in a second, they believe his actions show that he is a good leader who can make tough choices. Still, the whole thing is not simple at all. Telling Queen Camilla who she can and cannot be friends with is a very personal thing to do. It is not just about royal business. It is about feelings, loyalty, and being independent in your own home. This makes the fight more than just a disagreement about the news. It becomes a fight about boundaries. People want to know how much power William should have right now and how much freedom Camilla should have as the queen. This big disagreement shows us that while King Charles is still on the throne, the future of the monarchy is already being shaped by William's strong voice. There is another reason why things are so tense inside the royal family, and it goes much deeper than the things happening today. It is about the past and the sad memories that have never really gone away. At the center of all this is the memory of Princess Diana and how she affects the way Prince William and Queen Camilla get along. For William, this is not just an old story from a history book. It is his real life. When he was a little boy, he saw his parents' marriage fall apart, and many people say that happened because of Camilla's relationship with his father. That was a very sad time for him, and those early hurts have never fully disappeared. People who watch the royals closely say that William has learned how to be polite to Camilla, but he has never really accepted her into his heart. Over many years, they found a way to be okay with each other. In public, they look stable and nice. But in private, that peace might be very easy to break. This idea is also in the book that Prince Harry wrote. He said that both he and William once asked their father not to marry Camilla. Even though they felt that way, the marriage happened anyway. For the two brothers, this was a very hard thing to deal with. When they were younger, they often saw Camilla as the person who broke their family into pieces. Even so, as they got older, they tried to adjust. William focused on doing his duty for the monarchy and tried to have a working relationship with her. There were even times when they seemed to really get along, which made people think they were healing. But the new problems with the king's health have brought those old, sad feelings back to the surface. William is having a hard time separating what is happening now from what happened when he was a kid. When he sees Camilla telling the king to keep working even when he is sick, he does not just see a wife being helpful. Instead, he is reminded of the past and the woman he thinks caused his family a lot of pain. This makes him look at everything she does in a different way. The famous words that Princess Diana once said, that there were 3 people in her marriage, are still heard in the background of this fight. William grew up in that reality. Now, as he watches his father go through a very scary health struggle, those old memories are coming back very strong. And it actually gets even worse because the situation is so complicated. It is not just about the choices they are making today, it is about feelings that were never fixed. For William, the past and the present are getting all mixed together, which makes it very hard for him to stay calm. What might look like a simple talk about work is, for him, a very emotional battle. Just as these fights were getting bigger, something else happened to make things even worse. In March of 2026, a man named Tom Bauer wrote a new book called Betrayal. This book made a lot of big claims, but one was very shocking. It said that Camilla had privately said that Meghan Markle was brainwashing Prince Harry. Whether that is true or not, the story became a big problem for William. This was a huge step backward because William has spent years trying to keep the royal family away from all the drama with Harry and Meghan. This new book brought all that drama back into the news at the worst possible time. Instead of moving into the future, the family was pulled back into old fights. This made people think poorly of the family and put a lot of pressure on everyone inside the palace. William was already dealing with his dad's health and the fights with Camilla. Now he had this new book to worry about too. The book talked about power and who really makes the decisions in the family. It asked who has the most influence and how they make choices when nobody is looking. In a palace that was already stressed out, these questions made everyone even more nervous. One person said that the feeling at Windsor Castle got very cold after the book came out. People did not trust each other as much, and they were very careful about what they said. The unity that the family tries to show the world started to crack under the pressure. This also brought up a big question about what will happen to Camilla when William finally becomes the king one day. Some people who talk about the royals say that once William is in charge, he will have the power to change everything. He might review Camilla's role and decide she should not have as much to do. People think William is already planning for this. He wants a royal family that is smaller and more disciplined. He wants things to be very controlled and clean. The book was a big reminder that the future is coming fast. King Charles is still the king, but things are changing quickly. The choices they make now about their friendships and their jobs will shape the monarchy for a long time. When you put all of this together, you can see that the fight between William and Camilla is made of many layers. It is about past pain, current arguments, and not knowing what will happen in the future. Old hurts have opened up again and new fights have started. All these pressures are making it very hard for the family to stay united. It is more than just a quick argument. It is a moment where history and duty are all crashing into each other at the same time. This leads us to a big question. What does the future really hold for Queen Camilla? We have to look at what is happening behind the scenes to find the answer. Some reports say that King Charles has been making plans for a time when he is not here anymore. These plans are about his wife, Camilla, and his 2 sons, William and Harry. As his health gets worse, the king has made some private choices that show how much he loves his wife, but also how much he worries about her. One of his most important choices is about her title. He wants her to be known as the Queen Dowager after he passes away. This title is a very old royal tradition. It makes sure that she is still treated with respect and honor as a queen even when her husband is no longer the king. For Charles, this is about much more than just a name. It is about making sure she is safe. He wants to be certain that Camilla is always protected and stays an important part of the family, no matter who is in power. He does not want her to be pushed aside or treated unfairly like some royal widows were in the past. The king's plan says very clearly that Camilla should stay at the center of royal life. He does not want palace fights or what people say in the news to change her position. By getting this title for her, Charles is trying to make sure she still gets the help and recognition she deserves. But Charles is not just using titles. He is also doing practical things to help her. People say he bought a very expensive house near Camilla's private home in a place called Wiltshire. This house is meant to be a safe place for her, where she can be independent if things get difficult at the palace in the future. This shows that Charles is thinking very carefully about his wife's future. He is acting like a good husband who wants to make sure his wife is okay, both in public and in private. At the same time, Camilla is also getting ready for what is next. She has been quietly making her own moves to be strong on her own. Instead of just waiting for Charles's plans, she is building her own foundation. She is getting more involved in big national projects, like unveiling a new stone at Westminster Abbey. This kind of work shows that Camilla is not planning to disappear. She is stepping forward and showing that she is still a very important person. She is also making her own private home bigger and buying more land. This suggests that she is planning for a long and stable life. When you see all these things together, you can see a big plan. Charles is putting rules in place to keep her safe, and Camilla is taking real steps to be independent. However, all of these things lead to one big moment that nobody can avoid: the day Prince William becomes the king. When that happens, everything will change, especially for Camilla. A royal expert named Christopher Anderson thinks her role will be looked at very carefully. She might still go to some parties, but she will probably not have as much influence or work to do. Anderson also said that even though William and Harry are polite to Camilla in public, they still have a hard time with her being in their father's life. That uncomfortable feeling has never really gone away, and it might change the choices William makes in the future. Her title might stay the same, but her power might not. Once William is the king, he is the one who makes all the rules. He can review every part of Camilla's life and the lives of her friends and family. This review will probably include everyone around her, like her children and her close friends. For William, these connections might seem like a risk that could cause trouble. His way of running the monarchy is all about being in control and having a clean reputation. He is expected to cut ties with anything he thinks might look bad. This is part of a bigger dream William has. He wants a smaller royal family with fewer people at the center. He wants everyone to have a very clear job and no room for people who are not completely loyal to the crown. He thinks the monarchy must be managed very tightly to survive in the modern world. King Charles also liked the idea of a smaller royal family, but he wanted to do it slowly. William seems ready to do it much faster and more firmly. This difference could cause even more fighting. There are also worries about what will happen if Charles passes away before Camilla. Her place could become very shaky right away under King William. Other members of the family, like Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, are watching very closely too. They know that big changes at the top can affect everyone in the family. All of this leads to one very important question. It is not about if William will change the royal family, because we know he will. The real question is how everyone else will react when he does. Will Camilla quietly accept having less power while she keeps her title? Or will the fights that are happening behind closed doors start to come out in the open for everyone to see? At the same time, King Charles's worries are about more than just titles and jobs. He really cares about the relationship between his two sons, William and Harry. The fact that they are so far apart and do not get along makes him very sad. In many ways, his choices are those of a father who wants to keep what is left of his family together. Everything is moving toward a big change that will reshape the monarchy and test everyone's loyalty. One thing is for sure: the British royal family will never be the same again. What do you think about Queen Camilla's future and the fighting inside the palace? Do you think they can fix their problems, or are they just going to get worse? Share your thoughts with us, and do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more news.